Welcome back to the shop. Today I have a quick little video about the wiper macro I talked about at the end of the last video, which was the 4.1 upgrade from Ratrig. So one thing they are still neglecting to do, in my opinion, is just make a little macro so the nozzle wipes before it is doing the true zero probing. Especially now it's working absolutely amazing. If you haven't seen the video will be right over there. Now, the only problem is if you have a little bit of a dirty nozzle, yeah, the true zero is not going to work. So I made a little bracket. We already have tested it in the previous video. We have a little wiper up front. That is not ideal. We don't want a wiper up front on the heated bed itself. So I designed a little frame and I'm going to show you how the macro is really working. So first of all, let's look what we have inside. This was the first attempt to have a wiper. Let's remove it. We have some VHB tape. This has done a formidable job even at 130 degrees. And even now you can see it is almost impossible to remove. The meat and potatoes is going to be this part right over here. First and foremost, this has to be your print orientation. I tried a bunch of different orientations and they didn't work. These have also been printed with Ratrig PPA with a carbon fiber in it. This should be heat resistant up to 190 degrees. And after some calibrations, the first results are looking not that bad. I can also notice from all the testing I have done, this is a seriously stiff and strong filament. There will be a link down below. Also use the promo code that will give you an additional 10 to 15% off, I believe. So Ratrig, thank you very much for providing today's filament. Now it's time to clean this up, put on a little wiper and see if we have a nice little wiping location. I removed the supports. We have some supports right here on these pins, and these pins will hang on the plate in the back. And right in here you can place your wiper. And the wiper that I will be using is from a GD+4 because I have a bunch of them. Right here in the back we have a couple of holes, and this bracket has been designed to pop in those holes and snap on the backside. So let's try it out. This is super stiff and strong filament, so let's hope it doesn't break when we try to clip it on. And just like that, the bracket just popped on. Nothing broke, and this is extremely sturdy. This bracket is not going to fall off. Also, an added feature is that this will now also help with aligning the flex plate. Right now it has a little knobbin right over here and a little knobbin right over there. And now we have a nice little mating surface for our plate. Now we need to remove the adhesive, just like that, and install it on our little block. This is looking like $1,000,000. I really love it. Cool, we have a little wiper. Now we have to tell the system where to wipe, and for that we need to delve into the configuration, and I will show you how you can adjust your configuration for the wiper that you are going to use. There are also wipers right over here on the bed on each side. They are using some kind of a felt. Well, mine are continue to pop off, so I will not use the original mounting location. Also, another thing with the tool head that I'm running is one I designed myself. I also have a video right up there. It will hit the lead screws, so it is a very dangerous place right over here to try and do some wiping. So that's why I decided to do it right here in the back. This makes a lot more sense and it will not damage anything because there is really nothing in the vicinity to be destroyed. So I will move the camera a little bit closer and I will also show you a screen on what we are going to do in the configuration with the macro that will be in the link down below that you can copy and paste into your printer.cfg. Alright, so here we go. We have our Red OS and right now we need to decide on where we are going to do the wiping, and that is going to be extremely easy. So first of all, we want to home our axes. That is what we are going to do right now. So I adjusted the camera a little bit. What we need to do right now is jog everything to the correct place. So for that, we have our functionality blocks right over here. This is going to be the distance everything will be moving from 0.1 millimeter to 100 millimeters. So this is going to be 10 centimeters, 1 centimeter. Yeah, so we get the point. So right now we want this to move to the back. So for that, we will need to use these quadrants. So this is your y-axis and this Like you can see, we are now moving to the left. This is our x-axis, but we want to move to the right. We need to move to the back, and we also need to drop our z. So for that, we are going to use 1 millimeter and drop it. And now we see that we have our coordinates right over here, 308, 410, and 8 millimeters. Now, let's do a visual check in the printer and see if everything is aligning up nicely. So right now we can see the ducts are just touching the silicone brush and the nozzle is a little bit too low. So it looks like 4.5 millimeters in my case are going to be the correct values. So that indeed seems to be fairly good. Also the Y right now seems to be aligning with the first 2 rows. So I'm pretty happy with the start location of our wiping. That means we need to write it down. So that is the first part. Now we need to move that brush all the way to the other side. So that means that we have to jog it to the right. And now we need to look at our x-axis and we can see we went all the way from 308 to 340 right over there. So I'm going to write that down. So right now we need to open printer.cfg, go all the way down. This is where you are going to paste the macro. So that is the initial part. That will give you the macro that you can then plug into your mainsail. And right over here, we have to do our adjustments. And the second part you can see, so the start print before heating bed, that is something you don't need to touch because it will pull all the configuration from the G-code macro clean nozzle. So what we need to adjust. So we have right over here our parameters like wipe speed, travel speed, and Z speed. Now there's something a little bit weird with wipe speed, 18,000. That basically means 300 millimeters a second. It's a calculation from millimeters a minute, I believe, to millimeters a second, and that is 18,000 versus 300. So right now, these are going to be your basic configurations. That will mean we are using a wiping speed of 300 millimeters a second, a travel speed of 500, and then we have our Z speed, which is going to be 50. Now, right over here, this is going to be the coordinates that must match your printer. So first we have our start position. That is going to be the first writings we have done. That is going to be X308. So we have to adjust it. Then the second part is going to be the X end. So that will be the last part of the wipe. And we have seen that is going to be 340. Then we have our Y. The Y is going to be different. The first wiping was in front. Right now we are moving it in the back. So it is right now 413. And then the Y end that will remain the same, which is 413. Now, the Z offset is going to change because of the bracket. We are no longer using 1.8 millimeters. We have established that 4.5 is going to look pretty good. Then we also have our loop count. That is basically how much it is going to do the start and end. So basically how much it is going to wipe. In this case, I have set it to 10 wipes. Then we have our temperature for the wiping. I have set it at 170. Most filaments will be soft enough that the oozing will be done and it will do the wiping. Now with this PPA, I'm not sure. So for this use case and demo, I will use 200 degrees. You can change this in your configuration every time you want. There is no problem. And then right over here, we have our wait time in seconds. That means that the nozzle will heat up to 200 degrees Celsius and then it will wait for 60 seconds. Why are we using 60 seconds? That is about the time I want to give the nozzle for everything that is in the hot end and wants to just flow or ooze out, to give it 60 seconds so everything is out, it wipes, and then your nozzle is clean. If you don't do that, you wipe it, you have your residual heat in your nozzle, and then you will see as soon as it will park in the middle of the bed, it will just start oozing again. So that's why we have the 60 seconds. That is just to give it the time it needs to do all the oozing. Now, there's also one last thing we can adjust. Right now it is set at my printer volume. That means we are setting the printer back in the return home position, which is going to be return to center. So when everything is done, it will return to a safe space. So for my printer, because it's a 400 on 400 millimeters cubed, I have set X200 Y200. So if you have a 300 millimeter version, this is going to be X150 Y150, and if you have 500 millimeters cubed, you're a very lucky boy and have a lot of room, that is going to be 250 by 250 for your center positions. And that is basically the only thing that you need to adjust for this thing to work. So save and restart. Then let's go to our dashboard, and then we can see what we have done and if everything is working. So for this macro to show up on your main page, I have set it under filament. For that, you need to go to your settings tab. Then we have our macros. You go to your filaments and you press edit, and then you have to look up that clean nozzle macro and add it. It will be under the available macros, and you just have to push the plus add, and it will then pop up right over here. This will give you a nice little menu right over here. You can select your iterations, so we can still bypass the things we have set into our little configuration. And this gives you the ability that if you say, no, I don't want to use 10, I want to use 5, then you can change it right over here. You can adjust your wait time and adjust your temperatures. Now, the only thing that remains is if you're going to do it with the print start macro, so it's all going to be automated, the things that you're going to put right in here in your machine, these values right over here are going to be the values that it will use for every time you are going to start the printer. So if you are printing a lot with PLA, you can just leave it at 150 degrees on temperature, 60 seconds. If you do a little bit of hotter temperatures, I bump it up to 170. You could see for mine it was at 170 because I do a lot of ABS printing, but in this case we are using PPA for the demonstration, and for that it is very handy that we bump it up a little bit. So yeah, it is not super automated, but I believe that 150 to 200 degrees Celsius is going to be a very safe value. So in order to demonstrate, let's do a little manual test to see if everything is working. So you can see everything is like this. We are just going to push the clean nozzle and it should now home all the axes. Super great, doesn't matter what printer you have, it will home it, and then it should do all the things that we want it to do. So we can see the hot end is parked above the wiping pad. Right now we can also see that we are heating up to 200 degrees Celsius. Then we have our dwell time, which is going to be 60 seconds for everything to ooze out. And then it should do the wiping. I will adjust the camera so you can see it really close. What we also can see right now in the close-up is that we actually see the oozing of the filament, and that is what we want to see. And there we go. The wiping has initiated. It returns to the middle of the printer, and that is going to be our clean nozzle macro. So that all seems to be working perfectly fine. If you have a 400mm Ratrig, I will upload the code I'm using right now. So for everybody that is going to mount it to their bed, I'm not sure if the whole spacing is going to change between a 300, a 400 and a 500, if the spacing is going to change, but you can see how we have done that, so that should not be an issue. Because the problem is that right now, Ratrig, if it does the true zero calibration, it will heat up the nozzle, and that also means that if you didn't do this cleaning procedure, the chances are pretty big that something will ooze out and screw with those values. This will add around 1 to 2 minutes on your startup time of your print, but honestly I think it's completely worth it. And right now it is preheated, so if we do clean nozzle, it should do just the wiping because we already have done the 60 seconds of dwelling. So I'm really happy with this one. Now it's time to start the print and see what is going to happen. Well, I know what's going to happen, it's just going to work, but hey, let's do a quick print, shall we? And let's just reprint the brackets we have already done. We are not going to waste a lot of material, and thanks to Seraya Tech, I don't have to be worried about it. Alright, so right now it will do the preheating. It is going to take a while because we want our chamber temperatures to be 50 degrees Celsius. Once the preheating is done, I will be right back with you and we will see what is going to happen. So right now we are almost 50 minutes in on heating the chamber to 50 degrees Celsius, and after that it should do the wiping right over there. And after the wiping, it should go back to the middle and continue with the just regular macro, which is going to be the heat soaking. And the heat soaking is done with beacon to see how much everything is moving around. And when it's super stable, then it will start doing the pure Z offset thingy, and then it will do the beacon calibration. All right, here we go. So the chamber heating is done, and now it will do the second homing, I believe. So it will now do the dwell time, and then we should see the wiping. So the wiping is done, and right now it will go to the middle, and it continues to do all the Ratrig things, which means it is now going to do the heat soaking. And the heat soaking is, like I said, to find when the printer stops moving so it can do the calibrations. So that's basically going to be it. It is just a matter of pasting the file that I will provide a link down below in your printer.cfg. Also, if you want the wiping pad for the Ratrigs, I will also put a link down below on my printables where you can download that file if you want to use a GD Plus 4 wiper, and otherwise you do whatever you want with it and you use a different brush or anything that you fancy. If you have any questions, put it down below in the comment section or come visit me at the Discord. There will also be a link down below. There is a talk to me directly section if you have any questions or you just want to have a regular chat. Also, a big shout out to the members of the channel. It is because of you I can do all the fun things that I do right now. So consider becoming a member for only $1 a month. You support the things that I do. Also, make sure that you are subscribed to the channel, give a big thumbs up and do all the YouTube things. Shout out to Soraya Tech for providing me with the PPA filament. It seems to be working perfectly nice. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and I see you in the next one.